Hello students, hope you have learnt the 3 videos of electrolysis, and the last one I have done the revision in it and enclosed a worksheet. Complete that and then you can take up the next lesson, metallurgy. Now let us study about the position of metals in the periodic table. So in the group 1A we have alkali metals, group 2A alkaline earth metals, group 3 to 12 that is 1B to 7B and 8 are transition metals, and 13 to 16 that is 3A to 5A we find post transition elements where not only metals, non-metals, even metalloids are also found. And the metals which are present in 13 to 16 are weak electropositive metals. So this is the position of metals in the periodic table. Now coming to the physical properties of metals and non-metals which I've studied earlier in the lower classes, just once more we'll refresh that. State: metals are mostly solids except mercury, which is a liquid metal. Non-metals are in all 3 states, that is solid, liquid and gaseous state. You find bromine in liquid state and solid in iodine in solid state. Then we see the luster, metallic luster. Metals are mostly lustrous. Non-metals are non-lustrous. They do not have a shiny surface except graphite and iodine. Third is hardness. Metals are generally hard except potassium, sodium, which are soft metals which can be cut with a knife. Non-metals are usually soft except diamond, which is the hardest substance known. Fourth is malleability, that is they can be beaten into sheet. Metals are malleable except zinc and mercury. Non-metals are non-malleable except carbon fiber. The fifth point is ductility. Metals are ductile, can be drawn into thin wire except zinc, mercury. Non-metals are non-ductile except carbon fiber. Tensile strength means ability to withstand strain, that is capacity to bear considerable load without getting broken. So metals are high tensile strength, whereas non-metals are non-tenacious except carbon fiber. Melting and boiling point. Metals have high melting and boiling point. Non-metals have low melting and boiling point with some exceptions. Density. Metals possess high density. Non-metals have low density except diamond. Then conductivity, that is electrical conductivity and thermal conductivity. Metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. Non-metals are poor conductors of heat and electricity except graphite, which is a good conductor of electricity. Now let us study about the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. A metal loses one or more electron and forms cation. They are electron donors. Example is potassium. A metal loses one electron to form K plus ion. That's a cation. Non-metals gain one or more electrons to form anions. They are electron acceptors. You can see chlorine, a non-metal, accepts one electron to form chloride ion. Next point is metals have 1, 2 or 3 valence electron, that is electron in the last shell of an atom, and they form electrovalent compound, a compound formed by transfer of electrons. Non-metals have 4, 5, 6 or 7 electrons in their valence shell and form covalent or electrovalent compound. Valency of metal is univalent, divalent or trivalent depending on number of electrons lost. Valency of non-metals also can be univalent, divalent or trivalent depending on number of electrons gained. Univalent, if a metal loses one electron, it gets plus 1 as the valency, so it is univalent. When it loses 2 electrons, like magnesium losing 2 electrons to form Mg2+, it's a divalent metal. Aluminium loses 3 electrons to form aluminium 3+, that is a trivalent. So based on how many electrons they lose, the valency of the metal depends. Now coming to non-metals. Chlorine gains 1 electron to form an anion Cl-, so it is univalent. Sulfur gains 2 electrons to form S2-, so it's divalent. Nitrogen gains 3 electrons to form N3-, so it is trivalent. So you find univalent, divalent, trivalent metals and non-metals, but metals lose electrons, non-metals gain electrons. Thus they form, metals form cations, non-metals form anions. So cations are discharged at cathode as neutral atoms by losing valence electron. This you have already studied in electrolysis. And the process is called oxidation. Loss of electron is oxidation. Anions are discharged at anode as neutral atom by gain of electron. And the process is called as reduction. So this is again a repetition which you have already studied in electrolysis. Then the next point, metals are good reducing agents. Don't get confused with oxidation and reducing agents. They're totally different. Oxidation is loss of electron and reduction is gain of electron. Good reducing agent, they lose electrons, and non-metals are good oxidizing agent. That means they gain electron. Metals form basic oxides and amphoteric oxides. Basic oxides are oxides of metals. That example, potassium oxide, sodium oxide, calcium oxide. But there are some exceptions like aluminum oxide, lead oxide, zinc oxide. They are also oxides of metal, but these oxides are amphoteric in nature, which in detail we have studied in acid, bases and salts. That means they can combine with acid or base to form salt and water. Therefore, they are called as amphoteric oxides. Non-metals form acidic oxides and neutral oxides. So non-metallic oxides are called acidic oxide, but not all of them. There's exception like carbon monoxide, nitrogen monoxide and water. They are called neutral oxides because these oxides do not produce acid when dissolved in water. Therefore, they are called as neutral oxides. Acidic oxides dissolve in water to form respective acids. Now let us study in detail about metals. So far we studied about physical and chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Now we'll study only about metals because this lesson deals with metals, that is metallurgy, extraction of metals from their ore. So occurrence of metals. Metal occurs in two states. One is free state and in combined state. Free state, metals not affected by air, moisture. That means the metals are found as metal itself like gold and platinum. They do not get affected by either air or moisture or water. They are unaffected by these factors. Whereas in combined state we find many metals because most of the metals have an affinity towards oxygen. So most of them are found as oxide and also as carbonates, halides, sulfides and sulfates. A few examples are given here. Oxides, aluminium oxide, this is the ore of aluminium, bauxite. You always find aluminium with oxygen. So it's an example for an oxide, combined state oxide. A carbonate, calamine, zinc carbonate, so ore of zinc. Then halides, rock salt, sodium chloride. Sulfides, galena, PBS, lead sulfide. Sulfates, gypsum, calcium sulfate, dihydrate. So you can find that metals are found along with some impurities in them like an oxide or a carbonate, halide, sulfide or a sulfate. So metallurgy involves some important terms. Let us study about the terms first, then we'll study metallurgy in detail. First is minerals. Minerals are compounds of metals that are found in nature along with earthly impurities. Just now we studied about the metals combined with oxides, carbonates, halides. So these are the minerals. So they are found, not only the elements are found in them, metals are found in them, they also contain some earthly impurities like mud, rock, etc. Then ore. An ore is a mineral from which the metal can be extracted profitably and conveniently. So ore should have enough of metal which can be extracted. Then it is called as a ore. It is also a mineral but from which you can extract the metal profitably and more conveniently or easily. Then metallurgy, the large scale process involved in the extraction of pure metal from their respective ores. So it's a lot of process involved in this, all process together by which you get a pure metal. It's called metallurgy. Then the other terms involved are matrix or gong, that is the impurities, rocky impurities like silica, mud, sand, etc. which are present in the ore are called as matrix or gong. Flux is a substance added to the ore to get rid of the matrix, that is the impurity that has to be removed. There has to be a chemical substance added to that, so it gets mixed with that and results in the formation of a slag, that's a fusible compound which can be removed easily. Some common ores of aluminium, zinc and iron. we are going to study in detail only about aluminium, but you have to know the ores of iron and zinc also. So aluminium has 3 ores, that is bauxite, cryolite, corundum. So must learn the name of the ore's name, the chemical formula and the chemical name. So here you have the common name bauxite. Chemical formula is Al2O3.2H2O, or it is called as aluminium oxide dihydrate. Cryolite, it's a common name, Na3Al(F6), sodium aluminium fluoride. Corundum, Al2O3 or aluminium oxide. These are 3 ores of aluminium. Next is the 3 ores of zinc. Zinc blende, zinc sulfide. Calamine, zinc carbonate. Zincite, ZnO or zinc oxide. So you know the common name, formula and the chemical name. Then iron has 4 ores, that is hematite, Fe2O3, iron 3 oxide, magnetite, Fe3O4, iron, it is called as triferric tetraoxide. Iron pyrites, that is iron sulfide, FeS2. Spathic iron ore, and it is called as iron carbonate, ferrous carbonate. So these are the ores of aluminium, zinc and iron. Now that you have studied all the terms, we'll see how the metals are extracted. There are various stages involved in the extraction of metals. Let's study step by step. So these are the stages involved in the extraction of metals. Step 1, dressing of the ore, or it's also called as concentration of the ore, which involves 4 types. We'll study in detail. The second step is, after the concentration of the ore, the conversion of the concentrated ore to its oxide. If already it's an oxide, this step is not required. Then step 3, reduction of the metallic oxide to its metal. That is, after you get an oxide, it has to be reduced. Reduction means to remove oxygen, because in this you have a metallic oxide. So the oxygen is the impurity which has to be removed. So you get a metal, but the metal is not pure, it is still impure, containing other impurities. Step 4 is the electro-refining of impure metal. Okay, this is only given as a reference because you've already studied about electro-refining in electrolysis. Then let us take the first step, that is dressing of the ore or concentration of the ore, which involves 4 types. First is hydrolytic method. Hydro itself means water. So hydrolytic method, separation of the ore and gong, that is the impurities, due to difference in density of particles. So difference in density between the ore and the impurity. Based on that, the ore is separated. The metal is obtained from this ore. The ore being denser settles in grooves, and the gong being lighter is washed down by water. So this is the diagram. I have just shown you the textbook itself. You can see this is a diagram. There is a slope with grooves there. So the ore is made into powder and it is made to flow along with water. The ore is poured over the vibrating slope. This slope is vibrating. When a jet of water flows over it, the denser ore particle settles down and in the grooves, and water along with the impurities flows down. So this method is called hydrolytic method. The next is magnetic separation. So if you have a ore in which one of the substance, either the ore or the impurity, should be a magnetic substance, only then this method can be used. This is normally used for iron ore. So where iron is a magnetic substance and the gong is a non-magnetic substance. Here is the diagram which explains how a magnetic separation takes place. Pulverized ore is, from here it is poured inside this, that is the ore is crushed into fine powder and it is made to fall through this, and there is a conveyor belt and there are 2 wheels. One of the wheel is magnetic, one is non-magnetic. So the pulverized ore, when it falls on this conveyor belt, it moves over this belt and then the magnetic substance get attracted to the magnet, and so it sticks on to the wheel and then gets separated. So you can see the magnetic particles falling here. The non-magnetic substance gets away from the magnetic wheel and falls away from it. So thus the magnetic particles and the non-magnetic particles are separated. So it can be either the ore can be magnetic or the gong can be magnetic. So it thus gets separated into magnetic and non-magnetic substances. So this is mainly used for iron ore. The third method is called froth flotation method. This is normally used for sulfide ores, that is ore and the gong separated by preferential wetting. That is, suppose the ore is wetted by oil, the gong will be wetted by water. So here the sulfide ore, it is wetted by oil which floats on top, and the gong is wetted by water which becomes heavy and settles down. Here you can see a tank which contains the ore and the oil, and the method is generally applied for sulfide ores. A tank containing the ore and oil and water is agitated with air. So when air is made to flow through this and made to agitate, the ore separates above as a foam because it is lighter. It gets wetted by oil and gets separated above as foam. And the gong gets wetted by water, becomes heavy and settles down. Thus you can separate the ore and the gong by this method. The fourth method is chemical method. Ores and gong are separated by use of a chemical. Example here is sodium hydroxide, which in detail we are going to study in the extraction of aluminium. So in Bayes process, this method is used for extracting aluminium. We will study when we are studying aluminium, extraction of aluminium in detail. So step 1 we studied 4 methods of concentrating the ore, that is hydrolytic method, magnetic separation, froth flotation and chemical method. Now the second step is conversion of the concentrated ore to its oxide. So now we have removed all the earthly impurities and you have a concentrated ore. Now this ore, if it's not an oxide, it has to be converted to its oxide, because this getting a metal from an oxide is much easier than getting a metal from any other compound. So therefore the conversion of concentrated ore to its oxide is done in the second step. So this again can be done in 2 ways. One is roasting and calcination. Roasting is the process of heating the concentrated ore in the presence of excess of air to a high temperature before it is reduced to the metal. All the underlined words are very important. These are key words. So here oxides are easy to reduce, that's why they are converted into oxide. That can be done in 2 ways. One is called roasting, the other one is called calcination. Roasting is a process of heating the concentrated ore in the presence of excess air to a high temperature. The temperature should be high, but it should not reduce the metal. Okay, what does reduce the metal means? Means to from an oxide to the metal. It should be an oxide. The product should be oxide. It should not be a metal. So that's the meaning. Before it is reduced to the metal. Though the temperature is high, but it should not reduce the metal. So example, zinc sulfide. When it is made to combine with oxygen and heated to a high temperature, it gets converted into zinc oxide and sulfur dioxide. So from zinc sulfide, you get zinc oxide. Then iron 2 sulfide. When it's heated with oxygen to a very high temperature, you get iron 3 oxide and sulfur dioxide. So a sulfide, iron sulfide is converted into iron 3 oxide. So now there's a conversion of a sulfide to an oxide. So conversion of the concentrated ore to its oxide. Why we convert it to an oxide? Because oxides are easy to reduce. Next method of converting the ore, concentrated ore to its oxide is by calcination. That is process of heating the concentrated ore in a limited supply of air or in the absence of air at a temperature just below its melting point. So you should heat it to such a temperature where the metal does not melt. So below melting point it should be heated. Example, zinc carbonate. When it is heated, it gives zinc oxide and carbon dioxide. Then ferrous carbonate, when it is heated, gives FeO. FeO is iron 2 oxide and carbon dioxide. So you can find the carbonate getting converted into an oxide. Zinc carbonate to zinc oxide, ferrous carbonate to ferrous oxide. So you can see carbonates are converted into oxides by calcination, and you can see sulfides are converted into oxides by roasting. Now we have step 3 in the extraction of metals. That is, already we have got metallic oxides in the second step. Now metallic oxides have to be reduced to metal, that is removal of oxygen. So reduction of metallic oxide to metal, that is impure metal. Now based on the activity series of metal, this reduction takes place. That is, it is three methods. One is electrolysis, reducing agent, and by thermal decomposition. This depends on the position of the metals in the electrochemical or activity series. Electrolysis, metals which are reduced by electrolysis are the metals which are found in the top of the activity series like potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminum. All these metals can be reduced only by electrolysis because they have great affinity for oxygen. So they cannot be reduced using reducing agents or just by heating. Therefore, electrolysis has to be applied for these metallic oxides to convert them into metals. Then second is using reducing agents, that is after aluminium, the metals which are found in the activity series, zinc, iron, tin, lead and copper. These oxides of metals can be reduced just by using reducing agents. If you add in reducing agents to oxides of these metals, the metals gets reduced. That means you get the metal. The third is thermal decomposition. That is after copper you find mercury and silver below in the activity series. These metal oxides, that is mercury oxide and silver oxide, can be reduced to mercury and silver by heating the metallic oxides of mercury and silver. First we'll study about electrolysis of metals. So these metals can be reduced only by electrolysis because they are most electropositive metals and they have strong affinity for oxygen. So these metallic oxides cannot be reduced by using reducing agents or by thermal decomposition. Therefore, the only method which can be adopted is electrolysis. So just we'll see the example of fused metallic salts of magnesium oxide and aluminium oxide. So magnesium oxide dissociates to give Mg2 plus and O2 minus when electricity is passed through it. At cathode, you find the cations moving towards the cathode, that is Mg2 plus ions, and gain 2 electrons from the cathode and are liberated as neutral magnesium, that is pure magnesium metal, which is collected at the cathode. Then aluminium oxide dissociates to give Al3 plus and O2 minus ions. Now 2Al is because it is 2 atoms of aluminium and 3O2 is because there are 3 atoms of oxygen. So the cation is Al3 plus, moves towards the cathode and gains electrons to form aluminium. So at the cathode you find pure aluminium being deposited. That's how these metals are separated from oxygen. Next is the metals below aluminium in the activity series, that is zinc, iron, lead, copper, and how these are separated. Their oxides are reduced. They are reduced by using reducing agents. The reducing agents used here are coke, carbon monoxide or hydrogen. Now these metals can be reduced by using reducing agents because they are less electropositive and have less affinity for oxygen. So they can be reduced by using reducing agents. One example each using one of these reducing agent is given here. So you can see zinc oxide. Reducing agent taken here is coke. Coke is C. So when you add zinc oxide and coke and heat it, you get zinc getting separated and you get carbon monoxide gas being evolved. So zinc oxide is reduced to zinc. The next is iron 3 oxide, Fe2O3. The reducing agent uses carbon monoxide. So with carbon monoxide, iron 3 oxide gets reduced to iron plus carbon dioxide. So oxide is removed and you get a pure metal iron. The one more example using the next reducing agent, hydrogen. Copper 2 oxide, when hydrogen is passed, heated copper oxide and hydrogen, you get copper and water. So H2 removes oxygen to form water, and copper metal you get pure form. So you get from oxides you get pure metal, zinc, iron and copper. So this is example for the metals which are reduced by using reducing agents like coke, carbon monoxide and hydrogen. The metals which you find after copper in the activity series are Hg, Ag and gold and platinum. Gold and platinum occur in native state, that is in the free state, so there is no need for any process. So we have to only study about mercury and silver oxides and how they are purified. That is by thermal decomposition, reduction by thermal decomposition. Now, why they can be easily reduced just by heating their oxides is because they are least electropositive when compared to the metals above them in the activity series, and they have least affinity for oxygen. They have least attraction towards oxygen. So easily the oxygen gets separated on heating. So they can be reduced by heat alone. Example, mercuric oxide, HgO. On heating, decomposes to give mercury and oxygen. Then Ag2O. Ag2O on heating gives Ag and oxygen. So the oxides are reduced to metal just by heating. That is thermal decomposition. So you have to remember the reasons why some are reduced by electrolysis or by using reducing agent or by thermal decomposition. Very clearly it is explained here and also in your textbook. Please go through the textbook after you watch every video. Watch the video more than 2 or 3 times so that you can understand better. Any doubts, note down and it shall be clarified later.